welcome back to my channel. So today I have a review for you on the Clio Kill Cover Liquid Founwear Cushion, and I used this in a get ready with me. That was actually my very first time experiencing this cushion, and ever since then I've used it on and off, and I actually really like it. But I have discovered that there are some tips and tricks to applying it, and naturally I formulated some thoughts and opinions and I wanted to share them with you. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so first off, I purchased my cushion in a set that looks a little something like this. So it comes with a refill and the primer, but they sell these a couple of different ways. So I've seen the cushion with the refill and another set that I think included the primer and a setting spray or something to that effect. So there are a couple of sets roaming about on the internet. It just depends which one you want to buy. I purchased mine on Amazon, so if I find it, I will have it linked down below. Also, it comes in 3 different shades. I'm wearing the second shade, which is actually shade number 3. As you can see, it's a tad bit light, but it does oxidize. So you'll see later on when I'm applying it, it looks a lot lighter than it does now. Also worth a mention is that this cushion, like a lot of Korean cushion foundations on the market, has a really high SPF of 50 with a PA+++, which is excellent because you don't have to worry about layering sunscreen underneath it, which could kind of present to be a problem with this cushion in particular. I found it a little bit tricky mixing primers with this cushion because usually I use a more silicone based primer since I have very oily skin. To control excess sebum, those are the best. But this doesn't mix well with that because it kind of starts to bunch up and it doesn't mix in seamlessly with the primer. But before I move on to the application process and the primers I would recommend, I wanted to first tell you what are some of the claims that this cushion has. So it claims to have a semi-matte finish, perfect and full coverage that lasts, controls and absorbs excess sweat and oil, and perfect for continuous touch-up and reapplying sunscreen with non-caking texture. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the application process, followed by what it looks like in natural light, and then I'll walk you through some pros and not cons, but things to note. So as I mentioned before, when it comes to this foundation, mixing it with the proper primer is key, and these are the 3 that I find work the best that I currently have in my collection. So first is the one that comes with the foundation in the set, which is the Clio Kill Cover Highest Wear Primer. Second is the Pony Effect Radiance Glow Hydrating Starter, and then third is the Etude House Face Blur. The first 2, the Clio and the Pony Effect, actually have a similar kind of feel. They dry down to almost a powdery kind of finish. And then the third one, the Etude House, actually has an extra SPF and helps to blur out any imperfections, so pores, fine lines, and things like that. All 3 of them actually have a radiant and kind of brightening effect, and they really do sit nicely underneath the foundation. For the purpose of this review, I'm going to go ahead and use the Clio Kill Cover so that you guys know how this primer mixes with the foundation itself. With this cushion, I figured out a couple of things. First off is that it doesn't really have a full coverage. It has more of a light to medium coverage, and it particularly doesn't do a great job at covering red areas. So my red areas are more focused around my cheeks and on my nose, and to really cover that up well, I would have to go in with concealer. Second is that with the application, you have to do a combination of kind of patting and swiping motions to really make sure that you're getting all of the product into the pores and into the fine lines and blending it out so you don't have any stamp marks from the puff itself. And then once you do that, it really does have a nice flawless finish. Third and last is that it actually oxidizes a little bit, so just have that in mind. Okay, so now for some pros. The very first one I wanted to mention is that this actually does have a semi-matte finish, leaning a little bit more towards the matte side. At this moment, I do have highlighter on, so just have in mind that this is doing this from the highlighter, not from the foundation itself. That's why I inserted the previous clip so you guys know what it looks like without highlighter on. Moving on, I wanted to mention also that I think it does have a flawless finish. You know, once you kind of finick around here and there with the application process, you can achieve a really flawless finish that covers your pores and fine lines seamlessly. So I kind of find that it's a little bit worth all the fussing just to achieve this finish. It also is pretty long wearing considering that it has such a high SPF, and I've said this before, especially with my type of skin, very oily skin, it's a little bit difficult to get longevity out of a foundation with such a high SPF. Typically, I get maybe 6 hours, 8 hours at the most with cushion foundations with high SPF of 50. And this one leads a little bit more towards the 6 hour to 8 hour long wear kind of thing. Now moving on to not so much cons, but things to note. First and foremost, I really don't think that this has the full perfect coverage it claims to have, as you guys might have seen during the application process. I don't have many spots here and there, but I do have quite a bit of redness here on my cheeks and on my nose, and it doesn't really cover that like at all, because you can't even build it. So it's not buildable either. It does have a medium coverage, but you can't go over areas you want to cover. You have to go in with a concealer. You can retouch with this. It does well with layering, but it's just not buildable for coverage, if that makes any sense. Another thing is that I highly recommend this for people with oily skin like me, or even combination skin, but if you have dry skin, I think you might face some problems with it, because I have very oily skin, but I get the occasional dry patches here and there, particularly on my forehead, and this clings to any single little dry patch you might have on your face. So if you do have dry skin and you want to give this a try, just use a really good moisturizer or even exfoliate before applying it, because it will cling to any dry patch. I am just throwing that out there. So in conclusion, my final verdict is that I really do like this cushion foundation, and like I said, it's worth all the hassle with the application process and finding out which primer works best for you just to get this really pretty flawless finish, at least in my personal opinion. These are the lengths that I'm willing to go to look beautiful. Anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this review or found it helpful. Like always, all of my links will be down below so that we could stay connected. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so that you're notified every time I put out a new video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for stopping by, and until next time.